Hello and welcome to Manisha Talks, episode 2. Today we're going to be covering something which is quite important, which is why do smart people stay broke? But before we get there, I'd love to start off with a little exercise. So I can't actually remember where I came up with this exercise or where I got it from. I can remember it being in two different conferences. One was an Amway conference and one was a World Ventures. So if you know anything about Amway or World Ventures, it's you're selling things. I'm trying to just look for the book. Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, okay. Here we go. There we go. It says 100 Dreams. So when we went to it, we had to actually write down 100 reasons or dreams that what do we want to do with our money, basically. And this is such a powerful exercise. And most people, when you start writing, you'll just start writing. And I want you to write down every little thing, every big thing, even like, why do you actually want money? What do you want to buy with it? It could be that you want to buy a house. It could be that you want to look after your kids. It could be that with money, you're going to buy everyone more gifts. It could be because you want to travel. And I would advise, don't stop until you get to 100. It's a very difficult exercise to do. So when I was actually training people with regards to weight loss, so I've had about 2 or 3 transformations where I have helped women lose even up to 50 kgs. I myself have lost 30 kgs and I've done this transformation like 2 or 3 times. I'm trying to do it again, but 40s is tough, but I will push through. But it was more, why do they want to lose weight? That was the reasoning. So it's an exercise which can be adapted depending on what area of your life you want to focus on. Asking why continuously will get you to the core reason of why you want money. And it took one of my clients, I think 3 months to finish her list of 100 things. But it is so powerful, and what you will realize is that once you start doing the list, the things that are in your list, they come to you or into reality so much quicker. There's another part of this exercise which I added. Everyone always talks about gratitude and how important gratitude is and to be thankful. So the first exercise, coupled with 100 things you are grateful for, so it amplifies the energy of all of these things that you are calling into your reality. So I would suggest homework tonight, do this exercise because it is so powerful. When I started with the Map for Life at the age of 21, I can remember the things that I put on. It was very materialistic, being a 21-year-old. So I wanted a blue BMW. I would never want that now. That is so not me, but it's also just an indication of like how we change and how we grow and how we evolve. And we have to keep asking and revisiting these things. When we do these lists, it's not to do once a year when you do New Year's resolutions, but it's a work in progress, and you're allowed to change your mind as you are growing through the different phases. So do this exercise. I promise you won't regret it. I promise that in a year's time, you will come back to me or reach out to me and be like, you'll never believe it. So many of these things came true. And that has been my life. It also ties in with the vision boarding, which I'm also big on, and it's also in the Map for Life. So with the one that's in the map for life, in every area of your life, there's 8 different areas. You do a vision board for each area. It can be a combination of pictures as well as words, as well as sayings, or whatever truly represents that reality of yours that you are trying to call in. And now we come to the important question of, why do smart people stay broke? So again, I am very close to my sister, and we always have like tons of conversations. I can't go a day without speaking to my sister. And she is married, but I think her husband has just learned to live with that. And so we have these conversations. And growing up, we worked really hard. And I did speak about this in episode 1. It was something ingrained in us because we watched my dad work super hard. He was a provider, and so he was fulfilling his soul mission. That's when I asked him, like, why do you feel that you were put on earth? He said, to provide. And so he was doing what he knew best. But if he was not in his business, he was not making money. And that's something that I did not want to be stuck with. Isn't it the ideal that you want time freedom? But now, if you have a service base like accounting, unless you have proper systems and structure in place, when you're not in the business, you're not making money. So there was a lot of time growing up where it would be a Saturday, and we'd want to go to Vincent Park. That was the only shopping mall in East London at the time. And we'd say, Dad, come. And then he'll be like, okay, I'm coming. Okay, no, leave without me. And I found myself in the same pattern last year. I went on holiday, took my kids to the game reserve, took them to Sun City. Guess what I was doing? Sitting on my laptop working. And I caught myself in a moment where they were calling me to swim. And I was like, okay, I'll come just now. And then I didn't come. And I just paused and just thought, I am repeating, I was going to say, the sins of my father. That sounds so bad. You know, we do things unknowingly, and we always do the best that we can with what we have. But he was super smart. You know, I'm smart too. But we fall into this trap of 9 to 5, and that we need money to live and to buy all the things and to travel. And we have a plan, and then the plan doesn't always go according to plan. Especially with what's happening in the economy, the cost of things. I mean, you buy 3 Checkers Woolworths packets and it's costing 1,500. You know, that's crazy. And salaries are not going up as fast as the inflation, as fast as the fuel, as fast as the interest rates. So how do we keep up? This is how we are sucked into this rat race. And you have to take a time out and get clarity with, why do you actually want money? What is the end goal of it? And when I did this exercise, like truly, I'm someone who loves ticking boxes. And when you truly sit with it and you write the 100, I was actually in tears, you know, because although you start off writing all the material things that you want from money, okay, what I was actually wanting was freedom and peace of mind, and to help other people, and obviously to look after your kids. And, you know, for each person, it's going to be different. And with this exercise, there's no right or wrong answer. So in the discussions with my sister, you know, what we chatted about was, why are we working so hard? Like, what is the end goal? And why does it feel like we never, ever getting anywhere? And one of the things that came up is because there's continuous obstacles, there's continuous challenges, and we are continuously growing. So it feels like we're going nowhere, but actually when you do a review, and that's why it's so important to review all of your information, there is progress. And a lot of the time we are living beyond our means. So one of the things I did last year was, I'm going to give you, and I have shared this with a couple of my accounting clients, is the toothpaste example. Okay. So, when you're at the end of your toothpaste and then you forget to buy more toothpaste, you make that toothpaste last. Okay. So that is actually how we should be doing things with our money. Is when money is in your bank account, you will find somewhere that it needs to go. But if you are more structured and more ordered about where it's going, so by doing your money dates and taking stock or account for it, and there must be a plan for it, and this ties in with knowing your dreams and what you're wanting and what you're calling in, then you can put a plan in place so that when money does land in your account, and this is where the discipline comes in, because we're always looking for those quick fixes. So the moment it comes there, and I'm speaking and I'm smiling because I'm thinking about myself for most of my life. This was me. I was like, no, I need this thing. Whatever. I need this new camera. I need this new phone. No, the kids need clothes. So now I make myself wait a little for the thing. I don't get it immediately, even when it comes to groceries. And you start living more in your means. In order to buy this house, I sat the kids down. This was about 3 years ago. And I said, we were renting at the time at Riverside. And I said, I would like to buy a house. What I'm going to do is like cut out holidays, which I absolutely love, and I'm just going to keep it aside, anything that I would have spent on holidays, and just do without holidays for like a year or until whatever it takes, to get to the house. What are you guys going to do? What are you going to contribute? And buying takeouts and that sort of thing, I study bank statements. It's the biggest money spender, because it's so, you don't even think about it, and if you're doing takeouts 3-4 times in a week, you could be saving that money. So be more organized with your money, be more intentional with your money. And something that I also see with a lot of my clients is, give me one moment. Apologies. When you're a mom, you have kids who butt in all the time. So, what I see with my clients, I'm going to share. Often when they are going for bond applications, if they are a business owner, even if they're not a business owner, the one thing is they treat their business bank account like their personal piggy bank. That is a no-no. So again, this is where the order and structure comes in. So in the eyes of the law, if you have a PTY, even if you are not if you're a sole prop, but if you have a sole prop account and then your own individual account, treat it as separate people. But in the eyes of the law, if you do have a PTY, it definitely should be a separate entity. So you are an employee of your business and you must pay yourself a salary. The problem comes in where As a business owner, you just want to pay all the costs, you pay everything else, and then you pay yourself last. Again, it seems selfish to pay yourself first. But think about it. You're the one who, with the intellectual, the skill, whatever business that you have, and you are giving the most in the business, and to not take a salary, you end up being resentful. So again, this is like a small tip or piece of advice. If you are a business owner, start doing things properly and learn to manage with whatever salary that you are paying yourself by doing the toothpaste example. Another thing is most people have one bank account. I'm going to say have 2 or 3 bank accounts. The reason is one should be where all your debit orders go off, and another one should only be where money comes in, and then you can have another one for savings. The nice thing with most of the banks these days, you can have multiple savings pockets on your original bank account. And again, this is where the discipline and the structure comes in. Learn to keep 10% of your money in a separate savings pocket that you do not touch ever. You can't be a money magnet and get more money if you do not have money to magnetize. And I know, because I'm coming from a space from a 0 or a negative bank balance. You have, being traditionally a spender, I could never, I said, I'm going to wait until I have money and then I will start saving. No. The saving starts even when you're completely broke. And this is going to sound stupid, okay? But again, it's the habit which is important. Even if you're saving 10 Rand or 10 cents, whatever it is, it's the act of actually just keeping it aside. Even if it's a small amount, putting that one habit in place is what's going to get you more money. And you don't know where the more money is going to come from, okay? But you have to save even if you are broke. You cannot, whenever money comes in, wipe out everything. Because this is again where the patterns come from. So any person who you are wanting finance from, i.e. for a bond application or vehicle or whatever, if you're someone who cleans out your accounts and there's a minimal 100 Rand or whatever left in your account, that is a big no-no, because that's already saying that you don't know how to manage your funds. You need to have that safety net there that you do not touch. And this is again where living beyond your means. And when I say this is really why smart people stay broke, because doctors are my best clients. They are super clever. I have the utmost respect for them. They have amazing inflows coming in. But if at the end of every month you're left with nothing, that is a massive problem. They're not rich, okay? They're living far beyond their means. So learn to keep that savings in place. And, okay, I am with Discovery, but pretty much a lot of the, there's always these incentives, okay, where you get cash back or receive money back, whatever the case is. Learn the system and get stuff from it. To give you an example with Discovery, I get back at least 2,500 Rands worth of Discovery miles, so about 25,000 in a month, because I drive at a slow pace, I don't cut corners, I make sure I do my run, and get my points every week, even if I've got to run at 8 o'clock. And I have managed to do so much. I mean, I bought a Smeg kettle. I would not pay 3,000 Rand for a kettle, but I got it free. with my Discovery Miles. So there's all these systems that are there to support you and to give you money back by, teaching you the discipline and the control. But most people don't place time or emphasis on it. And you can see the building block to all of this is habits, which we discussed even in episode 1. So I would highly advise reading the book Atomic Habits, because the small habit of shifting your saving pattern is going to get you even more wealth. Another reason why smart people stay broke, and this is me having issues with the education system. You learn maths, you learn science, later on you learn engineering, but they do not teach you actual how to do a budget for a household. Every person is going to be running a household. Why are we not taught that? Do they actually teach you how to register yourself for income tax? Because it's such a simple process. And yes, you can pay your accountant to do it, but you can do it yourself. And sorry, give me. So something that I'm really passionate about is actually working with kids, teaching them budgeting. From the problem comes in from the first moment that they get their paycheck. If they are still living with their parents and they're not paying rent and not contributing to food, then they just start spending their money on whatever. And when you're earning a salary and a good salary, this is where we need to teach our kids to be vigilant, because that's when the banks are offering all these credit cards and they don't know or realize the repercussions of this. So again, using myself as an example with 5 credit cards maxed out, it's a bad habit, and that was my pattern. But yes, there is hope, and yes, you can change it. But if we start at a kid level, like, I don't want my kids to make the same mistakes that I made. And, I'm probably making a whole lot of other mistakes as well. No one is perfect, but I've got them an Investec account because I'm banking with Investec. They're the ones who approved my bond. And I put not a lot of money, but some money into their accounts. And I said, the rule is you spend some and you save some. Already I can see the money habits that are forming. My eldest is more like my sister, and he saves and sometimes he spends, but very little. But my youngest is exactly like a carbon copy of how I was. And I'm trying to protect him and mentor him. And I know he has to go through his own things, but if we can get this right at a young age, and consistency and discipline is something I've mentioned episode 1, also episode 2. That is also something that I'm trying to instill in my kids from a young age. So they do this Kumon maths. So with Kumon maths, it's like a Japanese style maths. You work at your own pace. So you can be like 6 months, a year, or even 2 years ahead of your grade. And all it is you do 1 book a day. That's it. And it's just repetition. And that's how we learn, and that's how we are designed. But the issue is they don't always like doing it. So again, I can see the pattern in my youngest one. It's always the youngest one, but for me it was swapped around because I was actually the eldest. So last week I found him cheating and submitting books where it was just blank. And he's done this a couple of times. And so I had to teach him, and I had to actually just sit with him in the actual Kumon class. And then, we had like a whole family meeting speaking about consistency. and why it is so important. You know, you can tell kids, but it's important to lead through action. And so what my kids see in me is, regardless of the weather, regardless of if I'm tired, like even if it's at 8 p.m. at night and it's pitch dark, I will run or exercise. And, you know, that is what I'm trying to teach them, is be consistent. If you say you're going to do something, do it. That is integrity. Don't lie. Don't cheat. You're not going to get the results. And it has to start at a young age. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of deviation. But, you know, from all of this, we are all smart people, and we will continue to be broke if we do not change our habits, because money flows where energy goes. And so with that, I'm going to leave you. Please do not forget to do the exercise. It's a very powerful exercise. I really don't mind if you want to reach out to me. I am always busy, and that will never change, but I will always make time, even if it's a quick little message, to point you in the right direction. Hope you enjoyed this exercise, and stay tuned for the next episode.